can result as, can happen as a result of you playing several roles. So this image is talking about, mom who's probably flustered, or a parent who's flustered, just reading out some of the thoughts that are going on in this parent or caregiver's mind. I have no means to provide care for my sick child. My child's illness is severe. There's a fear that my child can die. Am I the cause? Where did I go wrong? Have I offended God in any ways? Is it a curse? My life has also changed. Nobody cares about my situation. My friends seem to have left me. So we have some poor coping strategies. And over time, that leads to very common mental health challenges. And that can include anxiety and depression, social isolation, guilt and self-blame, neglect of even yourself. Sometimes we lose ourselves as a result of the experience we might be having. We focus only on a child and what they need. There's mental fatigue, and then there's also emotional stress. So the emotional stress, watching a child struggle can be emotionally taxing, leading to stress, anxiety, and depression. Additionally, we're looking at social isolation. So the demands of being a caregiver can limit our social interactions. We have a child, and sometimes depending on the behavior, it's like it takes a toll on you when you go to church because your child is not sitting still, probably making a lot of noise. People are looking at you in a certain way. They're not saying anything, but they're saying a lot at the same time. So you choose not to even go to church anymore. You choose to keep the child home rather than, take them, say, for family functions, for weddings and parties and all that as well. Sometimes the comments from people, others who don't understand, not wanting to get close, for example. So gradually it gets to a point where social interactions get limited, and that leads to feelings of isolation. Maybe you are not even that type of person, where somebody who used to love going out and spending time and hanging out with friends and all that. And all of that can, be cut short as a result of your experience. So caregivers can feel like they cannot set aside their caregiving responsibilities. There's even the fear that sometimes, what if I leave and something bad happens to my child? And over time, because of a lack of the regular interaction with friends, there's a disconnect. So things are not what they used to be. So that happens. And then there's also the part about sometimes a disconnect happening between you and even your other children, because a lot of the time we're focusing on, the child that requires a lot more support or assistance from us. So eventually it can lead to resentment, it can lead to loneliness, and it can also lead to depression. Then we'll look at the physical strain it can put. So the physical demands of caregiving can lead to exhaustion and health problems. So lifting and mobility, you have a child, I've seen parents who are carrying the children, and I'm not even talking about very young children, but teenagers. You can't be doing that all of the time. And so carrying them, moving them from one place to the other, sometimes carrying them on the back because they can't walk, for example, that can lead to other health or medical concerns for you as a parent, because you're also getting older, and you're not as you used to be. Then there's a constant exhaustion that also gets to happen. Then we can also look at what it does. So there's neglect of self-care. When we focus so much on everyone else except ourselves. So we're not taking care of ourselves. We're not spending time with our loved ones. We're not having a good laugh. We're not watching a good movie. We lose ourselves as a result of, constantly focusing on maybe the child that requires the support from us. Then there's guilt, and then there's self-blame. Sometimes it's internal. Other times as well as external. So you have a pastor who would come home and say all sorts of things, make you believe that this one, it is coming from your father, husband's side. Or sometimes this one is coming from the wife's side. Sometimes one partner will say, this one, we don't have some in our family. This one is coming from you. And usually it's the mothers that are left alone. So there's a guilt and self-blame. Could I have done something differently? Did I not take my medications as I should have? Did I eat anything? Did I do anything, whilst I was pregnant? Could I have done something to change the outcome? So before we actually go into the coping strategies, sometimes as well, aside the physical strain that gets to happen, of course, we mentioned the financial burden as well, the medical costs. I always say this, that, when you have money in your pocket, even your work changes. There's something about, just knowing that, because money can do a lot, although money is not the ultimate, but it can do a lot for all of us. And I'm sure you'd agree. And so all of that, can be a burden. So the financial burden, because it can be expensive, and where maybe one partner has stopped work altogether just so they can actually help manage and support the child, it means you have reduced the amount of income that will be coming home. So maybe you've left the job completely or probably reduced work hours. That can definitely impact the finances. So medical costs, therapy, all of that can impact an individual in terms of their mental health. And sometimes when you listen to a lot of the mothers, you realize that their worries and concerns are not anything else but the finances. That if you're able to actually help them with that, it's like almost 50 or maybe 60, 70% of their challenges or their fears has been, sorted out. So a lot of the time, the financial burden is a major issue that can impact the mental well-being of caregivers. Then also the lack of professional knowledge. So this doesn't mean that as a caregiver, you must have the knowledge, to perform or to give injection, for example, or to do what the medical professional is supposed to do. But having knowledge does a lot as well. So learning about and understanding some of the complex health challenges sometimes can allay some of the concerns you have, the what ifs, the things we don't understand. Because when we don't, we're not sure and we're thinking all sorts of things. But the moment we have some clarity and understanding of what exactly is going on, you realize there's a huge difference because we understand, at least to some extent. So sometimes there's also the fear of what am I going to do when there's a crisis? So handling any medical emergencies without any professional training, I mean, that can definitely be daunting as well. So all of these things definitely can impact caregivers. And so how do we cope? What do we do? How do we manage the situation as caregivers? One of the first things I'd want us to look at is self-care. You cannot give what you don't have. So how do we maintain our health? And that'll be through regular exercise, having a balanced diet, and ensuring that we're getting sufficient sleep. Now, that I know that sometimes can be difficult, but the least chance we get or any opportunity that we have, if we can just, take a little rest or probably take a break, it can do a lot for our health. Because when we're not sleeping well, we're not getting a balanced diet, we're not necessarily also exercising, we don't feel that good, or we're not necessarily in a good space physically, we become irritable, easily agitated. We are not also able to give our best to our children who require the support. It's also okay to speak to somebody. If you have a good friend, that's okay. They are not counselors. They're not necessarily going to give you therapy, but surrounding yourself with positivity is very important. So sometimes I encourage, if it's possible, can we get mental health? Can you get some support from a counselor? Go for therapy at least. Go and offload everything that's also going on with you, how you're also managing, how you're dealing with any depressive symptoms, that is if you are. How do you manage your stress, and how do you also deal with the emotional challenges? Because when you become like a shield for your child who's going through a lot of emotional, physical, and mental health concerns, maybe some learning difficulties, it's like it's been passed on to you. That burden has been passed on to you. But you can't keep carrying that negativity. You also need to offload that. And you can do that usually by surrounding yourself with positive people at least those that can listen without being judgmental, who are not going to give you any kind of advice. Sometimes all you want to do is just you feel heard, you know. So it's good to do that, at least for your mental well-being. Counseling and therapy also can do a huge, or can play a huge role in supporting you and teach you some coping strategies to deal specifically with your unique challenges and then also difficulties. Additionally, we'd look at time management. So with time management, we're looking at scheduling. So we're creating a structured schedule to balance our duties with personal time. So as an individual, there are several aspects to you. One of them is being a mom or a dad, being a parent, or being a caregiver. But you should also be able to have your own time. That's the me time where you get to completely disconnect temporarily, just to feel the self again, just to feel yourself again. Sometimes we are in like autopilot mode, so we just keep on going without feeling anything. And sometimes you have parents who say, I feel numb. So can we create a structure, have a schedule if we can, to balance the caregiving duties and at least have some time for ourselves? Now, delegation. Sometimes parents or caregivers fear leaving the child with other people, that they might not be able to care as much as we would. But it's also important that you also get to take your time off so you can come back and give the best care to your child. So it's okay to delegate sometimes. It's okay to ask for help sometimes. Sometimes you feel bad for asking, for help. But it's important we learn to ask for help sometimes, because we can't do it alone and we need the help of others. There's definitely going to be somebody. Sometimes it's not even family. It might not be your siblings, it might not be a parent, but it can be a very good friend who can take over probably for an hour or two, just so you can go get your hair done, probably go get a new haircut, probably, go do a bit of, shopping, or probably go, just read a good book, maybe go watch a movie. There is that. Sometimes some parents will say that, oh, that seems to be more like a privilege. It shouldn't be. Because if you are not at your best, you can't give your best to your child. So let's learn gradually to do this. For those that find it very difficult, what I tell you is start with the little things until maybe the parent or the other person has gained your trust. You can even have cameras around as well, if that would help. And then over time, when you're more comfortable or confident, you can leave them and then also focus on yourself as well. Then the other would be financial planning. So for some individuals, depending on where they're working, they might get some support in terms of, the hospital bills and all that, being at least some support to some extent. Some insurance companies will also do that depending on where you're working. Depending on the arrangements with them. So I'd encourage, if there are any parents or caregivers, you get to explore that option to see what they can cover. Sometimes it might not be everything, but they can for some aspects as well. I think it's better than nothing at all. So let's explore that. Then the financial aid, if there's any potential or probability of applying for grant subsidies or any financial aid programs for caregivers, there are. If you look, definitely you would find. So hopefully we get to do that as well. Because like I said, when it comes to the financial aspect, it plays a major role. It plays a huge role in the lives of the caregiver and then also the child that has special need, that requires a special support. And so if we can explore that, I think that would also do or go a long way to take or reduce the burden that we feel. Then there's also the option of utilizing professional services. So we have the home health aides. So we have professional caregivers who can come provide some relief temporarily and ensure proper care. They are trained, and so they also know what to do. Sometimes we have heard some grim stories and all that. But if we have some cameras in there, I'm sure that might also help in some ways. We can build a relationship with some of these facilities so they can give professional support as well. Respite care is also there. I think that sometimes what helps, for some individuals or some parents or caregivers, that gives some temporary relief is when the child is in school. So once you're able to drop off the child in school, they have some time to go about doing a few things here and there. I've also noticed that for the most part, that is when parents want to do the shopping, they want to do the cooking and cleaning and everything else. Sometimes you have to learn to understand that some things can wait. They can wait. So if you can take like an hour or two of a nap, please do that. Get a power nap and then get to do some of the things without feeling a need to finish everything, because it doesn't really finish. It doesn't really, it never ends. Parenting, whether it's a special needs child or not, it doesn't end. And it's a responsibility and a role that you're supposed to play, from the moment you have a child to the time when you're called home. And so if we can do that sometimes, why not? Sometimes you are not able to pay maybe for a number of hours, but you can for maybe a few hours. So whatever your pocket can deal with, or whatever your pocket can get you, why not access that so you can stay strong and healthy and be there for your child, at least for the long term. Then education and training. So there are several places here in Ghana that do that. Education and training. So you can take some courses on caregiving techniques and medical procedures. It doesn't mean that you have to be a medical doctor, but at least just to understand what happens, and then also what you can do if you need to do or administer certain procedures at home for your child. Then there are also online resources available, so you can use them. And then there are communities as well that can also provide some support. I think that before we end this presentation, we can put some in the chat box. I think I've seen Auntie Sewa here. I know that there's a support group or there are communities like that for individuals who have children with autism. There are others with ADHD. That's Mission also has that's a community for individuals and parents who have children with ADHD as well. So sometimes you find very interesting conversations that are going on where the next medication is coming from, maybe because there's been a shortage and all that. And sometimes you find parents who are sharing other helpful materials they've also found, with other parents as well. And I think these are very important communities to belong to, because it gives a sense of belonging to something where we feel that at least we found, a place where other people understand, other people are accepting and are not judgmental, unlike, some other individuals in the community. And so to wrap it up, I would say this, that caregiving is definitely a demanding role. Whilst it's not something that we might choose, it requires balancing our physical, emotional, and financial challenges. We need to ensure that we're balancing all of these. We also need to get support or ask for help. We need to prioritize our self-care, learn to manage our time, and understand that once you're able to do that, you can better cope with the demands of your role. So thank you so much. And I think before we get to wrap up, like I mentioned, we'll put in the chat box maybe some helpful communities that other parents and caregivers can also join. And at this point, I think that would leave room for questions and contributions if you have them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ethel, for everything. That was a lot. That was a lot. And I can see Dr. Kisi is giving you a clap. You deserve it. You do deserve it a lot. You are muted, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, because I could see you trying to talk. Okay, so for our audience, Ethel has given us enough time to chat, post our comments, concerns, anything that we would have. Okay, so I see something in the chat box. Please, if you have anything to share with us, you can raise your hand. We'll give you the opportunity to share. You can also type in the chat box if you are not willing to voice out anything yet. I see something in there. By the way, the YouTube link has also been shared in the chat box for us. So for those who are unable to join us, kindly share with them. Help them to also gain something from this presentation. So Stella says that brilliant presentation. I have learned a lot. Thank you, Stella. Thank you so much. She took her time in disseminating the information to us. And for that, we are so grateful. Please, if you have anything to share, I can see Auntie Sewa is here. Auntie Sewa, would you like to share something about? I remember Ethel mentioned the community support that we need to give to each other. If anyone would like to say something, please, the floor is yours. You can just raise your hand, be given the opportunity to do so. It means Ethel explained the thing to the extent that we don't have anything cry to share. Ethel, thank you so much. Oh, Veronica is also giving you a clap. That's nice. Oh, thank you, Kukwa. Kukwa says it was an awesome presentation. Ah, Gloria, thank you too so much. Mental health, total health. That's true. I agree with you. So in this month,
Hi, Ida. I think you're muted.
thank you for helping me out. Thank you. I thought I was speaking to everyone. I am sorry. Thank you so much, Ethel, for the notice. Okay, so Kuka was saying that mental health means total health, which is very true. And I see something here. Stella is asking that how do we deal with caretakers who mistreat these special needs children? Ethel, would you like to take that first? As
Sure.
Esther also says, thank you for the presentation.
Okay. So for caregivers, there's certain aspects that we don't have control over, but there are aspects to caregiving that we do have control over. So whether you're a parent or a caregiver, or maybe a teacher, and you've noticed that maybe whoever the caregiver is, they're not necessarily doing what they have to. I think that quickly you should be looking out for so definitely when it comes to children, all right, I think that it's wrong to maltreat any child. So whether it's special needs or not, if anybody is maltreating a child, you have to ensure that they face the full rigors in terms of the law because the law protects children. So that one definitely is something that you'd have to do. Now, sometimes you have fears as parents. And so always be looking out for change in behavior because they might be communicating something. That's one. The other bit would also be that you have to be looking out for physical symptoms as well. So maybe there's been a pinch, there's been a coloring of the skin or discoloration at a point, maybe there's a mark. You should be asking all those things. But I also understand that, naturally as parents, we do have some anxiety about other people taking over the care. But I won't also say because of the fear that we have, we should, continue to do everything we can. That's a reality. But if it's at home and you have some cameras, please keep them there so you can monitor what is going on. And also ask your children, especially for the ones who can communicate, and also be looking out for any behavioral challenges as well, because it could be communicating what's going on. But you have to allow that person to face the full rigors of the law, because it's wrong to maltreat any child or to treat them in any way. The law is there to protect every child, special needs or not. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, so Sabina Ishan says that very educative, thanks. And Emilia was asking, she says, thank you. Is there financial help for families that have special children in Ghana?
So I am not very sure, but I know that there are certain agencies, organizations that can provide some support, financial support. Some of them are not here, but you'd have to apply for. And it can be quite challenging, because of the, when it comes to financial constraints, it's not an easy feat, to deal with, because you want to give the best to your child. But whatever they can give, you're also going to take, that's what I think we should do. So if you can explore that, I think that'll be good. Let's find out, because I know that there are organizations that provide support for children with special needs, but there are certain requirements as well you have to meet before they can make those available. So in Ghana, I'm not sure, but if there's anybody who maybe knows of, please, I think that it will also be a good opportunity to let all of us know so we can explore that option too. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So Engineer Harriet Owusu Bani says that, thanks so much, very educative. And Mina is also saying everything was on point. Thank you. Bernice Amate says she has covered everything, I must say. Good work done, madam. Emilia Dacon is also asking for any link. A link was posted earlier. Are you asking for a link for this particular one, please? If that is what you're asking for the video, then yes, a link has already been shared. I can see some hands. I can see Auntie Sewa's hand is up and Alberta's hand is up. So I'm going to pause on the comments in the chat box now. Auntie Sewa, please, you can unmute and then share with us. When you're done, then Alberta also goes on, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. A great, great presentation. And there's nothing to add. It was wonderful. But about the financial needs for families with special needs, it's very, very difficult. Actually, I'll say this, almost nothing. The government has the 3% common fund. And people have tried to apply for it for God knows how long. And it's very challenging. I don't know where they take the money. For instance, I had a meeting with the head of and I waited for about 2.5 hours to see how I could talk to somebody. And they didn't come, and they apologized. I'm supposed to go back because I know of people who need the funding, because for even caregiving at home, going to school, all the different things. So a lot of families, especially mothers, are at home. It's very challenging. And I think we need to do better. With this forum or what we are doing, I think we should take it upon ourselves how we're going to get, the people in charge to support us. So Ida, over to you, and see how we're going to, talk to the people who run the common fund or something, how they can support it, because it's very, very disheartening to see parents, they want to get their children support, but yet they cannot, leave the children and go to work. There's no money anywhere for them. So, but we still keep pushing, and together we hope we can get something done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Auntie Sewa. Thank you for that. Alberta, I see your hand up. Your hand was also up before we call Mawena. Alberta, can you hear me, please? Probably Alberta is not ready. Mawena,
Hi.
please go ahead.
Yes. Well, I don't know if this is a question or not, but there's a child in my class who is not able to communicate, but is very brilliant. Whatever he puts on the board, he reads storybook, novels, everything, and he's able to solve some equation by himself. That child is 5 years, and I don't know if the child needs a speech therapy or I don't know, because he's not able to communicate well unless he wants to report somebody or he wants something. But to make a statement, he doesn't do it. I don't know how we'll go about it. Thank you.
Thank you, so Mawina. I would like to ask, has the child been assessed, please?
As to if the parents have accepted or accepted the fact that the child is not able to communicate. One partner accepts, but the other says it's normal. As the child goes, to other classes, he'll be able to communicate better. But in this case, a plus for him is, when he was a baby, he wasn't able to do a lot of things. But as he's been promoted to other classes, he's been able to do certain things by himself. But the speech or the communication or making statements is our problem. And then also, he's not able to write. He's not able to write well. As in, okay, so if we are using exercise book, he doesn't write on the line, but he writes roughly and he knows what he's writing, but the letters doesn't stand out well. I hope he gets me.
I am trying to get you. So, Ethel, would you like to share something before I top up?
Yes, so I think that if we're to help this child, what you can do as a teacher or as an educator would be to encourage the child getting assessed first. So just like Madam Ida said, I was actually going to say the same thing, so spot on. Let's get the child assessed first, just to be sure what exactly is going on. Because if not, you are looking at only speech because that is what you can see. But there might be other things that are going on. And so you're not being as helpful as you should be. And so I would encourage you to encourage the one that believes that, or probably has a suspicion, and they're also concerned. Maybe that might be the mother. If you can get that parent to maybe, get the child assessed, I think that would be a good start to the conversation on what they can do, because you've mentioned that the child is brilliant. So what can we do then? And, when the child is also young, one of the things is, plasticity, meaning that you can train the child and the brain, at least would give the best way you can, just so that we can maximize the child's capabilities. I think that would be very helpful. And because of that question, I've seen another one, which I just want to tie in with this one. I think it's from one Kwame Pepra. He was asking a question about how do you let other family members in on what the situation is? Because sometimes it's not all fiscal and they rather feel you're not training your child the right way. So it's still about the community. So sometimes you have to be the advocate for your child. So you remember the part about learning and gaining knowledge. I think that once you have that, there's a difference. And you can impact by transferring that knowledge to others. When people know, there's a difference, they're able to understand. At times, I've noticed that when it hits close to home, or the situation hits close to home, our behavior and how we act, our attitude towards the situation is very different. But if we can also provide them with some knowledge of what's going on, their attitude can also change. So knowledge is a huge thing to family members and all that. Let's not hide our children. Let them see, and when that happens, it's like we're creating more advocates. And then that would then help to reduce the stigma that we are experiencing, the judgments that are coming from people, including Christians, who don't understand the situation and are thinking all sorts of things and giving all sorts of labels that are not there. So I won't go further before I shake some legs. Thank you very much.
Thank you for holding your gun over there. We are grateful for that. Okay, so there's been a lot of congratulatory messages over here, and Coco is also asking if there are any retreat centers that anyone knows of or would like to be shared. If we don't know of such currently, you can all join. Since majority on call here are on our parents' roundtable, kindly share those links and things over there so that others would also have access to it and we can all share with each other. Esther was mentioning something concerning changing of schools due to maltreatment that was meted out to the child, and currently she's saying that her problem is schools in Ghana that are not really helping our special needs kids, and the others also who can help being very expensive. As Ethel explained in there during the delivery, it takes a lot on us, especially in terms of finances. But we all strive to do our best for our kids. So let's try. Let's try. Venice is also suggesting something that we should take care of in terms of a discussion on nutrition for kids. Okay, thank you. Well noted, Venice. Okay, so Emilia is saying thanks, and she's also not sure about Ghana, but then there's a Masterclass Foundation. Okay, so that is, I think it is in connection with the funding issue that was mentioned earlier. Thank you. And the rest are all congratulatory messages. Okay, so Dr. Marvel is also saying, Beautiful Life offers some financial support for parents who have special needs. But then we need more NGOs who would support financially. So that's one of the support centers or support means of gaining some source of support. Mina also says that YOA disability in Ghana provides a little help to kids with special needs. And then the common funds in your constituency. So then we can also look at that too. All right. So Kwame Pepe's message has been dealt with as it has already been dealt by Ethel, so we'll skip that. Is someone's hand up wanting to ask a question? Okay, so Alberta says thank you again. However, it says that please include the experience of parents to tell how all the tips you have given works. Okay. Yes, Alberta, we'll take note of that. Okay, Benis is asking a question. She says, please, how true is it that there are special sound frequencies that assist an ASD child to talk? Ethel, please, have you heard of that?
I've read a bit about it, but I wouldn't say I have a lot of knowledge about sound therapy. But I know that for some individuals who have, sound sensitivity, I think that's where the focus is on individuals who have some atypical sound sensitivity. They look at certain frequencies to help. But I wouldn't say much because I don't know much. And if it's not an area I'm very familiar with, I can't really say much about. Maybe there might be others who have some knowledge. I think that would be helpful to add on to.
Okay. All right. So Mami Ukia is saying that she's tried some of the things on YouTube concerning that, and it's working for her. So as we know, it working for someone doesn't necessarily mean it would work for you. However, we can try. So please, the ball is in your court. Does anyone, Mawina, I see your hand up, or it's the old hand. Is it the old hand or it's a new one? If it's a new one,
it's a new one.
Okay, then kindly unmute and talk.
Okay, so some therapists suggest that some of the kids should join the normal classes. And I don't know if it's helpful or not. In a way, I think it's helpful. But in the other way around, I think some of the kids tend to learn from this kids. Some of the kids in the class, let me see, the normal ones tend to learn from the other one. Do you get me, please?
Yes, so then it means you're talking about inclusion, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Ghana has a policy on inclusion.
I don't have any idea yet.
Don't worry. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Sorry about that. So, yes, Ghana has a policy on inclusion. And as Ethel, please, would you like to share something before I start talking plain?
Yes, absolutely. So when you were talking, I had a little bit of a grin on my face. That we're concerned that, and I think some parents have that concern that when you have a special needs child in a class with maybe other regular children or typical children, maybe there will be some influence. But the truth of the matter is, when you look at the larger society, we're different. We're all unique in our own ways, some more than others in terms of what you can see. Okay. So I would encourage that rather than have that concern, you should have that child in the classroom with every other person, because maybe theirs is more visible, but another might not be visible. And how then do we teach our children to be more accepting? And how do we normalize the differences if they are not exposed to it from the beginning? Because when they get out there into the real world where they are interacting with others, they are, for instance, also going to work and all that, how they treat them if they haven't seen them, they haven't had interactions with them, to change the negative perceptions they have about maybe a child with special needs. Okay, so I would encourage that, please, with inclusion, it's a big thing for all of us, and we should allow that to happen. It's not infectious having a child who's special needs. It is not. And it's no choice. Nobody chooses to be that way, but sometimes life happens. And so even in even with their circumstances, some of them are the most, they're the most amazing if you spend time with them. They're the most empathetic you would find. They're very sweet individuals, just like you and I. So please, if you can, please, let's have the child in there. Thank you.
And that's just one of the reasons why Mission Pediatrics decided to organize the Special Education and Inclusive webinar this July. With that, it helps us get to understand how to even treat our kids that we have in our classrooms. And just as Ethel has said, yes, the policy is there. There is a need for inclusion. But then how do we do it? How do we support the kids? What are some of the things we can do as classroom teachers, as facilitators? Well, how do we handle our kids who have special needs? Please, the webinar flyer has been shared, and the details and all those things have been shared. Please take some time. Log on to the website. Yes, to the website. Join, register, and then be a part of it to learn more. However, I see something here in the chat box from Dr. Marvel. She's saying that there is no strong evidence for sound frequency treatment for communication therapy. The speech therapists do not recommend or promote these sound treatments. So please, let's be wary of that. And as mentioned, our webinar flyer is being showcased in our comment box. So another comment here.
I can't find
from
the
Esther.
flyer.
Esther says that God bless you. Oh, you can't find the flyer. Mr.
Do you have
Nancy,
any
please.
group?
Kindly. Yes, we do. We do have our community on WhatsApp. You can be part of it, please. We'll share all those details so that you get to be part, you get to have it, you get to see it and all that. Mr. Nate, please kindly share those details for us. Okay, we beg you. Let me read these comments here. Esther was saying thank you, especially for the inclusion issue. She said the stigma is painful. It is. So Dr. Mabel is also saying that inclusion is ideal and should be encouraged. However, we still need to be mindful of the needs of the child. Some children may not thrive in the current environment we have in our classrooms, and immediate inclusion may not be ideal for every child. That is true. So please, I will keep saying, join the webinar, get to learn more. How do we practice inclusion? How do we go about it? Our WhatsApp page has been posted in here, the chat. So kindly click on it to join our WhatsApp page so you can have more details concerning the special needs webinar that will be happening this July. And please bear in mind that in there, we're going to learn a lot. Oh, I'm sorry. Senam and Anne have their hands up. Kindly, Senam, please start, and then Anne would continue for us. Please, you can unmute, Senam.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello. I had a nasty experience at my son's school I'm practicing inclusion. He attends an inclusion school. And when he was in the first class that he was, I think the teacher seems to have a bit of knowledge about ASD, so I didn't have any issue then. But when he moved to the second class, the teacher there told the kids, the other kids, that nobody should play with my son, that he has a virus. He
Hey,
has a virus that when they play with him, they will also get the virus. So
hey.
in fact, when I got wind of the whole thing, I was so mad. But I just told myself, is it my doing? Did I go to the market to bargain for this? No. But that whole month, in fact, it affected me even at work. So I just holding myself. And then luckily they had a PTA meeting. So in the PTA meeting there, I spoke, and the headmistress, when after the meeting, she was like, "Oh, why didn't I mention it to her?" And I said, "Look, as at the time I got wind of the, if I had come there, maybe it would have been a nasty situation. That is why I just exercise patience that at the appropriate forum, I will make the issue up. But luckily for me now, the therapists that go to the school to help my son, the class that he's in, now they turn and ask me, they didn't know the boy is good like this. So now, because now he's picking up and he's doing a lot of things. So they now marvel that, oh, is that how he is? And I said, that thing you don't know. So you also have to, at least when the child is in your school, you also have to be reading about the situation and get to know. But to tell the blanket, oh, the child has a virus. So luckily, I don't know, I prayed. I said, look, that lady, funny enough, she herself moved out of the school. She just, the school headmistress said one day, she didn't even inform me and then left the school. I said, yes, she will leave. Because I know the God I'm serving, she will leave. So at times, the way they people are
Handle it.
around us, yes, even look, hospital. At times you go to hospital and the way they will talk at you is something else.
Oh.
This is sad. So sorry about that experience, please. So sorry, Senam. I see Anne, your hand was up. Please, you can unmute and share.
Hello, good evening. I can really relate with the last speaker. It's amazing how much a lot of people don't know anything about special needs kids. And as a parent myself with an ASD child, it's very challenging. But the few things I can share is that if you are new, please, the longer you take in trying to find out exactly what is wrong with your kid, the more damage you're likely going to. So if the developmental stages, the child is not meeting it, early get the child assessed. And when you get the assessment, please try and get them to explain to you, okay, so what can he and what can he not do? So you begin to focus on those areas. If you try and keep comparing your child, why is he not doing this? Or trying to rely so much on other people, you're really going to be very frustrated in you. So whatever is wrong, you yourself start gaining every knowledge possible, internet, anywhere possible, empower yourself and teach your immediate family. One thing that really helps is those kids, they need a structure like Dr. Ethel was saying. If you do not have a structure, you really be frustrated. It means that if you are not disciplined, you have to work at being disciplined, because if this is the time he feeds, it has to be the same. If the time you teach him, it has to. They work best with routines. That one I have to tell you, to really work on that. And then what final thing I'll say is that sometimes it's very helpful if you read books about caregivers. I read a book, Farida's mom's book, I've forgotten the title. It really, really inspired me, and there was a lot I could relate. And it lessened my frustration because I read the part where she said it took 6 weeks for her to teach something basic things to Farida. And so it really helped me with my frustration. So these are the few I can say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anne. We get to learn a lot from each other. And that's the reason why we organize all these things. So we all get to share experiences and learn from one another. Okay, thanks a lot. And as I said earlier, Fusaina, I see your hand up.
Yes, hello, good afternoon or good evening. Actually, I'm joining from Finland, and my question is to Ethel. I'm fortunate to be in a place where I get all the support I need for my son, and one of them including is getting a carer, like a caregiver, a carer to come and take my son out for walks and stuff like that. But it's been about 3 years and I've not been able to gather the courage to actually see it through. So every time they ask me, am I requesting for the caregiver? I'm like, oh yeah, next time. And it's almost 3 years now. And I recently had a baby and I realized that, okay, now it's too much for me and I need the help now. And I gathered the courage last week and made all the phone calls. I even had I have someone ready who is coming to care for my son. And since I finished that phone call, I've been having this anxiety every night. Anytime I think about someone, a stranger, coming to take my child out, I don't know what is going to happen to him. He can't tell me if he was bullied or something. And it's giving me anxiety every time I think about it. And I'm actually thinking about just canceling the whole thing. I know I need my time. I need to let him go, but I can't seem to get him out of my sight. Is there a way, like, do you have an advice for me to just move past through this so that I can just let my son go and then be okay at home or wherever I am, that he's fine, that he's catered for? Yes, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Fusaina. Ethel mentioned some things, but please, would like her to reiterate it so that it helps you also. Ethel, please, over to you.
Okay, so Madam Fusaina, I think that what you're talking about or what you're experiencing is very normal, because you have been handling or being at the forefront in caring for a child all these years until finally you have someone. Now, there's the part that you cannot control sometimes, and that's knowing whether or not it's going to happen. But whilst you are thinking of the worst, I think that the most important thing is doing your due diligence. So check, because in that environment, you can actually make some checks. Just check on maybe any, what do you call it? If there are any maybe character reference regarding this person, just so you can have your peace of mind. That's all you can do. So check out all those to be sure. Maybe there's some reviews about this person and how they're like, how long they've been working in that environment as well. Because you actually also need the break so you can focus on the other things too. So you can also still be the best for your child. So it can be a tricky situation, but it is required. So if you've finally gotten someone, what you can do is do the checks and then, temporarily means that someone else can do or care for your child so you can also get other things done. So whilst I think currently you're focused so much on the negative. So what if it also goes very well? That's the question I have for you. Whilst you are thinking of the worst, why also not think of the best? What if it also goes very well? So do all the things you can, which is doing your checks, then the rest of it as well, you just go with it. Okay. But I think that because of the concerns you have, it will still be good to, if it's possible, maybe have, for instance, let's say, maybe a therapist, on hand as well, who can from time to time help you deal with some of the anxiety you have.
Yes, hot water is there.
Please, if you are not on the floor, kindly mute yourself so that we can
I
hear
just muted Madam Sabina.
each other. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ethel. Okay, so thank you so much, Ethel, again. And Fusaina, I hope you've gotten some tips from what Ethel said. The video is available on YouTube. The link we've already shared on our social media platforms. That's in our community. You can also reshare with others, help others get to learn some more out of it. Someone asked a question. I think it was Esther. Yes, she says that what should she do if her partner is not really involved in caring for the child who has special needs?
Yes, do I take that?
Yes, please.
Okay, I don't know how old the partner is. I'm sorry, the child is. But sometimes for some individuals, there might be reasons why they just cannot be around. I know of even parents or fathers who kind of struggle with even babies. They find them to be so small, they feel they would break. Sometimes as well, I think that it takes time and then also maybe being around the child for them to change their minds. Other situations might also be if there was a community, for example, where you're going, you encourage him to also come along so he gets to see, he gets to
Hello,
experience
Ethel.
maybe other fathers. Yes, please, can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can hear you. She says the child is
Yeah.
4, please.
Yes, I've actually seen, yes. So 4 years, that would mean that maybe it's taken a while for him to actually get involved. Have you asked why? Can you find out why? What's his concern or what his fears are? I also think that maybe if there's a community that supports when you're having their meetings, you can have him, go along as well. Don't give him the pressure, but let him go along. Maybe when he sees other fathers, there was one last conference, that was last year, with I think there was something like that was last year. Is it the autism conference? We had some fathers who had children and they were actually the ones,
Yes,
really
it was
at
the
the
autism
forefront.
conference.
Absolutely. And I think that was like very good because we don't have a lot of it. And I think for the most part, the experience has been that it's usually the mothers that seem to be with the children. Sometimes if the men disappear, they run away. Okay, so if he's around, that's fine. Maybe eventually over time, it might rub off on him. The other bit would probably be if he also gets to see other fathers maybe doing it, it might also help him to maybe gradually get around to. And then for some activities as well, if you can plan and get him to also be involved in it, maybe that would gradually tease him into coming out there and being more around the child. But it's also important to ask why. What maybe his fear or maybe concerns might be and why he doesn't want to necessarily involve himself in the care of your child. I'm sure that once we have answers to these, maybe that would also be helpful.
Thank you so much, Ethel, for all that. We appreciate each and everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, hello. Oh, I think I missed the
Please,
hand. I'm sorry.
please.
Emilia, is that you?
No, I'm Naomi.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Please,
And I think I see Emilia's hand.
we've been
Yes.
treating a particular child who has this special need. The issue is the man has not wedded the woman, but when the woman gave birth to her first daughter, the girl is looking very beautiful, and the man decided that he will live with the woman. They gave birth to a second child, and the child is a special child. The child is having cerebral palsy. We invited the man over several times. The man came, and then we tried to advise him concerning the condition of the baby. He accepted all that we said to him, but he went home, and then the child was taken to a village where there's this mark. I don't know how they call it in English anyway, but they mark the child and then they'll put some black concoctions into the baby's skin. And then when they came back, the child was seriously sick. So she was admitted for, I think, 2 weeks or so, and then they went home. But the father is insisting that the mother should send the baby back to the village where they went. And then here's the case that the woman does not want to, but the man is threatening that if you don't do it, I will send you back. So the woman came, is it last week Friday, and then she just narrated her ordeal. How do I? What should I do at this moment?
So just to tie this in with, the first question, I think that, there are times where if the person does not want to be involved after everything, there isn't much you can do. Okay, because you cannot control that situation. You cannot control that individual. You've done all you can. So, like I mentioned with the other person, education, getting him into maybe certain environments to see other people might change it. But I wanted to add on the religious aspects and the beliefs that we also have, because aside that, they're also in an environment, and family members and people will come with all sorts of suggestions and beliefs. So, depending on what they believe in, it becomes very difficult. Sometimes in some situations, we've had to actually invite the people that we realize have a huge influence on them. So let's say it's their pastor. Because you can actually get a pastor to come in, get him to understand certain things. And the moment they change their language, maybe a client, for example, is willing to do whatever it is you want them to do. But that is how far you can go, because at the end of the day, if the person still chooses not to be involved, now the parent has a choice, the mother has a choice. It's either saying, I'm sticking with my child through and through, or they're going to go with what the man wants. I'd encourage the woman to stand up for the child, because the child cannot do that for themselves. So I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Okay.
Thank you, Ethel.
Thank you.
There's a limit to what we can all do. Emilia, your hand is up, please. Would you like to share? Kindly unmute and share with us.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It's the first time I'm joining you for this program. One pharmacist friend of mine, Rhoda, shared the link. Yeah. So when I think of, thank you so much. When I think of mental health, I don't know, right now, I am an advocate. I have a foundation as well. And then I have a niece with very special needs, upper limb and lower limb. So taking something from what SL said, money does a lot of things. And unfortunately, as we have all learned in Ghana, the financial support is very, very low. Yeah, so whilst we think of educating, I think we can still, thankfully we have jobs, and we can really help in our own little ways. And I would also like to add to the fact that the community, our social behaviors, okay? My niece hasn't really gotten it easy. My sister has been through hell, because she would have to do everything for the child. But the good thing is, we see these children and do not really see the potential in these kids, okay? My niece is now at the University of Ghana Business School, pursuing her dreams. She got a scholarship from the Mastercard Foundation in the UK. So whilst we really educate, we need to see beyond their disabilities and see what the future holds for them. I always tell her there is nothing impossible. And despite our challenges, everybody has some, but we would really have to deal with it. Find people who can help. Family should support, okay? I always tell people, kind words. So if you hear somebody telling you this child should have been killed right in the womb, that is one of the heartbreaking things you could hear from many people. Unfortunately, that's the stigma, okay? We see children who we think are not special, and then they are beautiful, they are nice, they are this, okay? So our words, SL, everybody, our words, how we encourage these children, inclusion, teachers, mothers, women like ourselves, we need to support each other. Because when a child is disabled in any way, they are not meant to be a failure. So we have a lot to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Emilia. Thank you for all that. So it's been a wonderful time so far. We've spent an hour, 23 minutes and counting. We appreciate the fact that Ethel gave us an hour plus, and we're still discussing things. We are thankful to everyone who was able to be on call. We appreciate the fact that you took time off your busy schedule. You joined us, you listened to us, you've taken something. We thank you all. We have these programs every month. So in every month, we organize a public lecture depending on the theme for the month, and then we discuss things. This month was on mental health. Next month would be on beta aphasia. We'll share the link on our community page and then on all other social media platforms. Please help others to also get to see and learn exactly as Emilia was able to get it and join. Please share with others because we need to support each other. These are just the things that we do to support one another. The link to join our community, our parent roundtable community, has been shared already in the box, the chat box. So please, you can click on it, be a part of our community, join it. And I would say it again, our special education webinar, our early bird is going to end very soon. Please join, learn, glean a lot from our discerning facilitators who would be handling the webinar. We have, I can see Dr. Kisi is here. She's one of our speakers who will be handling an aspect of special needs. Thank you so much to everyone. Oh, yes. For those who are requesting for the link, the YouTube link that was shared in the chat box, please, you can have access to it. And we would share it again. We would send it to all the platforms. Please share it with others. Let others get to learn. Go to YouTube, listen, like the page, help others to also get to have more. Subscribe to it. Do all the things that we can do to help us in this advocacy that we are embarking on. We thank you all for coming. Please have a very good evening.
Thank you.